Previously on Episode 4.
John Bradley, once a top international assassin, now finds himself framed for the murder of a Spanish presidential candidate. With powerful enemies closing in, his only chance to clear his name is to gather the evidence that proves his innocence. The organization he once worked for is determined to silence him, permanently. Meanwhile, Brittany, a sharp FBI agent, is investigating a mysterious murder in Loma Vista, which happened on the same day John returned from Spain. Realizing their missions are intertwined, they form an unlikely alliance to take down the criminal syndicate that links both cases. Risking everything, they track down the organization's elusive accountant, someone who holds the key to unraveling the vast global network and its crimes. Their dangerous pursuit is just the beginning, as they inch closer to exposing the truth that could bring the entire organization crashing down. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel to get more videos. Like and comment in the section below. Now, Episode 5. It was a calm Saturday morning in Monaco, the sun barely peeking over the horizon. In her hotel room, Brittany lay in bed, her mind drifting between sleep and wakefulness when her phone buzzed on the bedside table. Groggily, she reached for it, eyes squinting as she tapped the screen. A message from Richard illuminated the screen, an invitation to a fundraising party that evening. Brittany's instincts kicked in immediately. Richard was starting to fall for her, and this was her chance to gather more intel. But as dangerous as it was, she knew she had to keep playing the part. Later that day, a sleek BMW arrived at the hotel, sent by Richard to pick her up. A luxurious dress ordered by Richard awaited her, a symbol of the kind of life he believed he could offer her. She put it on, the fabric clinging to her perfectly as she looked in the mirror. It was a reminder that Richard's interest in her went far beyond business, and tonight, she would have to walk a delicate line between seduction and suspicion. At the party, Richard introduced her to some of his associates, powerful, well-dressed men with an air of authority that made her uneasy. They laughed, exchanged pleasantries, and drank fine champagne, but Brittany's trained eyes were assessing everything. Their accents, their body language, the subtle security measures surrounding them. These were no ordinary party guests. They were key players in the criminal organization she and John were trying to dismantle. Yet, to Richard, Brittany was nothing more than an intimate friend he was proud to show off. He had no idea how carefully she was observing every move. It was around 11 p.m., and the crowd at the luxurious hotel began to thin as guests departed, leaving the grand lobby quieter than before. Brittany, still in her stunning gown, stood by Richard's side, observing the surroundings with an alertness that belied her poised appearance. The evening had been eventful, but her real mission was just beginning. As the night wore on, a group of distinguished men began to arrive, slipping discreetly into the hotel. They didn't mingle with the other guests, moving purposefully toward a private room at the far end of the hallway. Brittany watched as Richard greeted these men with a sense of familiarity, exchanging handshakes and brief words as though they were old comrades. Her heart pounded in her chest. These were no ordinary guests. These were high-ranking members of the organization, the real power behind the crimes they had been chasing. Richard, ever the gentleman, smiled at Brittany. "I'm afraid I have some business to attend to. The chauffeur will take you back to your hotel. I'll see you tomorrow." Brittany hesitated, her instincts screaming at her to stay and gather more intel. But she knew the risks of raising suspicion were too great. Reluctantly, she agreed, watching as Richard and the others disappeared behind the door. She memorized their faces and details of their movements, knowing every piece of information could be crucial. As she stepped into the car, she felt a surge of frustration. These were the people she and John needed to bring down, and they were just behind those doors. But she couldn't afford to blow her cover now. She had to play the long game. Meanwhile, back at the hotel entrance, John stood in the shadows, keeping a watchful eye. As soon as Brittany's car pulled away, he dialed Natalie. The faint hum of Monaco's nightlife buzzed around him as he spoke into the phone. "Natalie, it's John. We've made progress, but it's slow. Richard's deeper in this than we thought. He's meeting with top-level people right now, right under our noses." Natalie's voice came through crisp and clear. "That's good news, but also dangerous. You and Brittany need to be careful. If they suspect anything, the entire operation could collapse. What's the plan? John glanced down the street, watching the sleek cars pull in and out of the hotel. We're working on gathering intel from inside. Brittany's doing her part, getting close to Richard. As the driver pulled up to the hotel, Brittany stepped out, and to her surprise, John was waiting at the entrance. His expression was serious, the kind that meant something wasn't right. "Something's going down at that hotel," she said quietly as they walked inside. "Richard's meeting with high-profile guests. I'm certain they're the top members of the organization you're hunting." John's eyes narrowed. "If they're who we think they are, there's no way we can just walk in there. The hotel's probably crawling with security." Brittany bit her lip, frustration boiling just beneath the surface. They were so close, but their hands were tied. "So, what's the plan?" John's face lit up with an idea. "We're not walking in, but we don't have to. We can use a drone to spy on the meeting from outside." They retreated to a discreet spot about 100 yards away from the hotel. John pulled out a Chinese-made drone, equipped with a 4K camera, and sent it buzzing into the night sky. The drone's lights were dim as it hovered near the hotel's windows, with Brittany guiding him based on the building's layout. They identified the room at the end of the hallway, where the meeting was taking place. "There," Brittany whispered, her heart racing. Through a narrow slit in the window, they caught sight of Richard and 6 other men, all seated around a long table. John snapped pictures rapidly, but something was off. One man, seated at the head of the table, remained in a blind spot, his face obscured. Whoever he was, he commanded respect from the others. The drone's battery beeped, warning them that time was running out. They couldn't risk pushing it. John brought the drone back, frustration etched into his features. They had seen so much, yet the most important piece, the identity of the man in charge, was still out of reach. Back in the hotel room, Brittany paced while John sat at the table, reviewing the footage. "We made progress," Brittany said, though there was a lingering doubt in her voice. "But it would have been better if we could hear what they were saying." John nodded, his focus still on the screen. "Natalie's working on profiling the men we captured in the footage. From what we already know, each one runs a business that's likely laundering money for the organization. Richard seems to be the key to all of it. He moves the money." Brittany sighed. "We're close, but not close enough. To take down something this big, we need undeniable evidence, and we don't have it." "Not yet." John met her gaze. "You're going to have to get closer. If we want to take them down, you'll need to go deeper into the organization." Their eyes locked for a moment, an unspoken tension building between them. Professional, personal, or something else, they weren't sure. But before either could say more, Brittany's phone rang. It was Richard. "I wanted to make up for leaving you at the party." Richard's voice was smooth. "How about dinner tomorrow night? I'll pick you up around 8. "Sure, that sounds nice," Brittany replied, trying to mask the sudden surge of nervousness in her voice. "Oh, by the way," Richard added casually, "my chauffeur mentioned seeing you leave the hotel shortly after he dropped you off. Where did you go?" Brittany's heart skipped a beat. Her eyes widened, and she quickly masked her surprise. "Nowhere important," she said, forcing a laugh. "Just needed some air. See you tomorrow." She hung up, her face pale as she looked at John. "Someone's watching us." The tension in the room thickened, and both of them now wondered the same thing. Had the organization caught onto their game? As soon as Richard hung up the call with Brittany, another call came in. This time, it was Santiago, the IT analyst working in the criminal organization. "I have something to tell you, and it is important." Next week on episode 6, Richard receives shocking information that will shake his trust to the core, leaving him questioning everything and everyone around him. The stakes are higher than ever. Don't miss it. Tune in next week to see how this twist unfolds. Thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more thrilling stories.